Bates Motel Season 4, Episode 2, Goodnight Mother. I think what they did with this was a really great job kind of setting up what we're going to see for the rest of this season. And I was very surprised by the way that they did it. And I mentioned this for the premiere episode, that they did sort of a preview for like the whole season during the series premiere episode of Damien. And so I knew some of the stuff was going to happen. I knew that they were going to have Norma and Romero end up getting married, and I knew that we were going to get to see Norman inside of the asylum, or institute, I guess. But I think the way that he got there was actually pretty great in this episode. They did like kind of some just really crazy stuff in this one, and we have Norman still not fully bringing up that his mother, or at least in his mind, his mother is the one killing people. But we also get to see him actually talking with his father, which he knew was a vision, but it still affected him. By the end, he still felt that his mother was the dangerous one. So we got to see him talking to his own father. Of course, we actually got to see Norma and Romero kind of talk about being married, and Romero kind of comes in to help Norma out towards the end of the episode. And it's so hard to really tell, even when they show us, it's hard to really contemplate what's going on in Norman's head, because it's like, okay, we have the scene where he knows, at least initially, he knew it wasn't his father. But then it's like, no, I didn't, you didn't kill me. It was your mother that killed me. So, of course, that actually affected him. He completely forgot what happened before. Of course, he blacked out and he thought he was his mother. But he had glimpses. And we see that he killed this woman and he shoves her in the freezer. But we don't know what happened afterwards, because after that, he goes down to the freezer because it's like, oh, she put her body, in the freezer. She put Emma's mom in there. And I don't know what the heck happened, because I thought for sure Norma was going to find her body in that pit for a second, because it's like he was having, I can't remember if that was him having visions of that or if it was her just thinking about what could have happened. But the animals that he did have frozen were moved out, so he did actually do that. Like, everything we saw was an actual memory where he put her in the freezer and everything. I assume the part about her not actually being dead was real too, which was pretty crazy, because when she like jumped up and started moving, I was like, oh, maybe he's dreaming. But then after that, when he went down to the freezer, and especially when Norma came down, I was like, oh, why are all these animals out? I was like, okay, that wasn't him just imagining that. That actually happened. She wasn't like completely dead, and she was trying to fight back, but it didn't work, and I'm assuming she froze to death. Which still, and I mentioned this last time, it's crazy that she went to Romero's place, which she mentioned in the episodes, like, oh, I'll be there real quick. It was weird that she didn't end up, getting back for quite a bit of time, but I guess she, took off because she was freaking out, which she did in this episode as well a little bit, when she was hiding from Norman after she found out that the papers were being faxed in, and she let him stay in there for hours, and I'm like, because when I saw that scene, I was like, he's been in there for hours, because it was daytime when he got the letter. And then, they do the stuff where he sees his dad. And I'm like, I think she might actually be scared. Like, she's, like, terrified to go in there when he has the papers. And that was true. Like, he finally leaves, and then they pan back. And she's just sitting in the dark in one of the chairs and finally decides to go in. And then she still doesn't bring it up like, yep, okay, I'm just going to cook some food and stuff like nothing happened. But the way they did it, I'm so curious. I feel like we have to see Emma's mother show up somewhere, somehow. We're going to see her body, because I mentioned, like, how is he going to get rid of her? Where's he going to put her? I totally forgot about the pit as an actual option. But, they kind of ruled that out. She's not in the pit. She's no longer in the freezer, so he moved her from there to somewhere else. So her body has to be somewhere close by that they just haven't shown yet. So I feel like that's going to come up, but maybe not for a while. I think that's going to be their thing, kind of messing around with that idea, because so far it's only Norma and Norman that knew that she was at the motel. Everyone else is like, okay, she showed up for Emma's surgery, but she's also the mother that left a long time ago, and ultimately she gave up after Emma's dad was like, I don't want you here, I don't care what you want to, what letter you want to give her, I want you gone. And then she left. So to them it's like, well, she was here and then she left, and so that's it. So no one knows that she was even there. It's almost like with Bradley, no one really knew that she was even there because they thought she was dead. So I don't know if it's possible that they'll even have him get captured or anything like that, or get busted, or if Norma will even find the body. But considering it's such a mystery at this point, like, where did he put that body? I'm pretty sure we're going to get an answer sometime this season. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. But it was very exciting. And then, of course, we have Norma, the whole episode freaked out about Norman and him kind of losing it. And then he has the gun and everything. And she was just, like, really, really freaked out during that. So I just love the way they did it. She's freaked out by him, and he thinks he's protecting her, like, oh, you're dangerous and stuff like that. And I don't know if any of you guys watched episode 2 of Damien, but in the preview, they do like a little. They actually show like one of the scenes when he's at the institute and he's talking to the psychiatrist, and it's kind of the same thing where he's mentioning that he needs to protect his mother. So I'm very excited to see how they play with that, because they're right there. Like I mentioned this before, they finally have the moment where he can say, you did this, because he's never done it, but he did it twice in this season. He did it in the first episode, and Bradley, of course, they all thought was dead, so she's like, you were hallucinating, that didn't happen, because Bradley's been dead for a long time. And then in this one, he was vague about it. He just said, what did you do with the red-haired woman? So that was it. He wasn't specifically saying like, oh, I saw you kill her or choke her or anything like that. It was just, what did you do with her, and like what happened? So I really enjoy that, and I'm hoping that they get really close to it. And I know I found this out actually after the premiere, when I was reading some stuff even after I did the review, that this is the season before the last. We're only going to have 5 seasons, so this will be leading up to the final season of the series. Like, they already have that set, and that's unfortunate because it's such a great show. But next season will be the final season of Bates Motel, so they're going to be doing some really crazy stuff leading up to the final season, and I can't even imagine what they could be doing there and what they're going to be setting up, because right now it's fairly simple. At least like we can see a little bit where it's going, and in their preview they do show from last week, the one they show for the whole season, they do show a little bit of what's going to happen with Norman inside of this institute. So I'm not really sure what to expect by the end of the season, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think they did a really crazy job. Like, somehow this was one of the crazier episodes that Norman has actually had, despite the fact that he's been killing people like crazy. This is one of the crazier ones because he sees his father, which is a huge leap as far as I'm concerned. I thought that was a big leap, and I thought it was pretty cool. But he sees his father. He's freaked out about his own mother, who's of course genuinely freaked out about him for good reason, and he's just in crazy mode. So I love the way that they're playing it. You got to see a little bit of Emma in this episode. Fortunately, she seems to be doing fine, and I'm guessing that she will, go on without the oxygen tank, and her organs will her body will accept the organ, so she should be fine, I'm assuming. But her father actually had a pretty interesting talk with Dylan, and I thought it was pretty cool, like, especially the way he ended. He was like, considering she actually has a future now, I want you to kind of consider, what you're doing, and, she can't be with someone who's just growing pot. And then he ends it like, and honestly, you're better than that. And I thought that was really cool of him to say that he's like better than just growing pot. So that was actually a really cool thing for him to say. And we actually have Dylan going back to his farm by the end of this episode. So they are going to be bringing in that aspect of the series again by the next episode, which I'm really looking forward to, because we do have this weird sort of power vacuum thing within the city, and what he may or may not, be doing, and how he's going to try to expand or completely change his direction in life now that he and him actually do have a future, if he decides he wants to, actually have a future with her. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they do his storyline this season, because he's always had that storyline. It's always like the sub story is, we have Norman going crazy, and then we have Dylan doing crazy stuff. So with everything that's kind of changed in Dylan's storyline, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how they kind of progress that for this episode, because every time he just ends up, even in the last one when he was trying to get out of it, he ended up doing that crazy mission for the guy, and he has to kill a bunch of people. Like, him and his father have to kill a bunch of people, and then it's just like chaos. It's just sheer chaos. So I feel like even though that's not what he's trying to do, it's just gonna keep happening to him until he just fully gets out of it. But looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Can't wait to see Norman in this institute because I'm very excited for that. I think that should be a really good dynamic for the show because now that he's gone, we're gonna get Norma and Ramiro and how they build, upon this like quickie, little marriage and how that changes and becomes something real because they have that tease, in the last season where Ramiro was kind of, falling for her. So that kind of building up from this sort of just instant relationship, I'm actually excited to see that. It's weird. I normally don't care about relationship stuff, but whenever the people are crazy, I think it's perfect. And Ramiro's not exactly the most sane person ever. He's definitely killed some people. The first shot of this season is him dumping that guy's body on his own boat. So he's done some pretty crazy stuff. Even this episode, he's doing the illegal thing. Like, here's a certain amount of money here because there's always a room for like a senator's kid or whatever. And, he throws it out like, I'm going to be marrying his mother. So he still does his illegal underground stuff despite the fact that somehow he's just remained sheriff like it's no big deal, all the crap that he's been doing. But I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out and how Norman develops while inside of this institute, both through, his actual therapy sessions and just being there in general because he can't really stand being away from his mother, period. So aside from the fact that he's doing therapy, which he hates, I can't wait to see how they kind of just develop his free time. I think should be one of the most interesting things actually. But really looking forward to it. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what do you guys think is going to happen to Norman once he gets into this institute. I know that from the preview, from both previews from last week and this week, he's going to kind of get into, I believe there was a scene they showed where he does think that he's his mother during the therapy session. So I hope I didn't misread that and that does actually end up happening because I think that would lead to some very, very interesting scenes between him and his psychiatrist who can't really say anything because of doctor-patient confidentiality, but he'd have some crazy information and I'm pretty sure he can tell cops if he does actually admit like, oh, my mother killed this woman. I think that's like the only thing he can say. And then of course we'll see how all that stuff plays out. But I'm certainly looking forward to it. Definitely, like I said, I want to know what you guys think is going to happen to Norman inside the asylum. And of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.